It is Thursday, the 7th day of December 2017. Hello there and welcome to News Tonight. My colleague John Opori will be joining me shortly on the sign language desk, and I am Edward Rukidi Kijanangoma. Now, President Yoweri Museveni has said he is optimistic that the economy of Uganda will grow sustainably as government has now got the facts. The President was speaking at the opening and review of the 5th phase of the Presidential Investors Roundtable at State House in Entebbe. The 5th phase of PERT has been working for the past 2 years and is due to conclude its work at the end of this year, 2017, and make recommendations on tourism, oil and gas, energy, minerals value addition, competitiveness, and ease of doing business in the country. PERT is an innovation of President Yoweri Museveni that drives government ministries, departments, and agencies to improve service delivery as well as the country's competitiveness in the global economy. President Museveni said that after many years of trial and error, they have identified 10 strategic bottlenecks. The President said that he has identified 10 strategic bottlenecks that must be tackled to help the economy grow sustainably. He told the meeting that those critiquing government that the country is producing a lot of electricity should stand warned, as he would not compromise and allow that kind of confusion. The President said that the other bottlenecks that need to be addressed include supporting the private sector and the fragmented market, which was caused by colonialism. He added that when there are low costs of production, such as transport and electricity, many investors will set up industries and help to reduce the population that is stuck in subsistence farming. Prime Minister Dr. Uganda said that PERT has enabled Uganda to achieve strides in competitiveness and ease of doing business on the global market. The Minister for Finance and Economic Planning, Matia Kaseja, said that government would put more capital in the Uganda Development Bank to ease trade. Certificates were given to the technical work group members of Rajesh Shifto, Erastus Nsubuga, Amina Hersi-Mog, Mohamed Huda, Vinay Dauda, and Ambassador Philip Idro. Let's move on now, and opposition members of parliament have actually said that next week they will show solidarity against the proposed constitutional amendment to Article 102B that seeks to scrap presidential age limit. The coordinator of the campaign, Mwanga Chivumbi, also member of parliament, Butambala County, told journalists that the Toji Kwatako Week is a campaign aimed at raising awareness across the country against the amendment. Now, the opposition members of parliament announced the Toji Kwatako Week earlier on Thursday at parliament, as we hear in this report.
Starting Monday next week might be a week of running battles between police and legislators opposed to the amendment of Article 102B, as they announce a week-long of defiance towards the scrapping off of the presidential age limit.
As members of parliament who are against it, we are declaring next week as Tojukwatako Week for all Ugandans. This time, we don't want to say this is for FDC, for NRM, for UPC, for DP. It is for all Ugandans.
Led by the MP Butambala County, Mwanga Chivumbi, opposition MPs say the campaign will raise awareness against the amendment.
Our colleagues who are members of parliament, who reside around Wachiso, wherever, are going to be visited massively by ordinary voters who are mobilizing them to visit them, to lobby them, not to hurt them, to lobby them. We have also ensured that a group of activists are going to be calling the phones of members of parliament. Better leave them on. They are going to be busy.
According to the legislators, the week's activities include dressing red for all those opposed to the amendment and organizing processions.
All the rallies we've been, and there are so many other activities we are going to announce. So across the board, across the country, be it in the road, whoever can pick a write up on the tarmac, you write a word, Tojikwatako.
The MPs also opposed the new development of increasing their tenure from 5 to 7 years.
All that is to divert Ugandans, and for us, we are not in for that.
While this bill was being presented, said, please go and massively consult on this issue. Who has consulted on 7 years?
Philip Aguta compiled this report for UBC News.
So Jikwateko still making headlines in the country. Now, the World Health Organization is set to declare Marburg a free Uganda. And that is, of course, after 2 cycles of incubation period totaling 42 days have passed without new cases reported in the country. The Ministry of Health declared an outbreak of Marburg in Kwen and Kapchora districts on the 19th of October 2017 with 2 deaths confirmed. Now, Uganda will be declared Marburg free this Friday, the 8th of December 2017, after completion of 42 days of the post-Marburg surveillance countdown period, which is a prerequisite of the World Health Organization, requiring any affected country to monitor the situation of any viral hemorrhagic fever for that period before finally declaring an end to the outbreak. The Ministry of Health, on the aftermath of the outbreak, embarked on contact tracing and follow-up activities with 155 contacts, including 66 who had contact with the first case and 89 who had contact with the second case, patients closely monitored by the all tested negative. Uganda has previously experienced in managing recurring viral hemorrhagic fever outbreaks, including Marburg virus disease. Now, cases have historically been reported among miners and travelers who visited cases inhabited by bat colonies. News pertaining to the health sector, the National Medical Stores has started a free national yellow fever vaccination exercise. Together with the Ministry of Health and Mulago Hospital, over 50,000 people have received the vaccination, and by close of business today, the target of 90,000 people is likely to be achieved. We have more on that in this report.
Under the scorching sun, Ugandans queued up to receive a free yellow fever vaccine. The turn-up has been high, though it will take one close to 4 hours to get vaccinated. Dan Kimosho is the Public Relations Officer, National Medical Stores. But what is the importance of having a yellow fever vaccination?
This is to prevent yellow fever. So we are gearing towards enabling every Ugandan to know the importance of prevention, but also not only to know but to practice it, so that we reduce numbers of people who become patients in health facilities.
Whereas Ugandans stand up to benefit from the exercise, some have diverse views about the exercise.
There's
always a start in life. It has started. Who knows? It may be a recommendation for the future that we consider going to regions.
National Medical Stores, Ministry of Health and Mulago Hospital plan to have more exercises of this kind at regional levels across the country. Ivan Kahwa and Susan Naonga, UBC News.
Ivan Kahwa, of course, reporting there, and he himself took that shot of yellow fever. And it's very, very important that all Ugandans should take that shot. News Tonight will now take a short break, but much more is lined up for you. Stay with us. Welcome back, and this is News Tonight. General Nopori is on sign language, and I'm Edward Rukidi Kijanangoma. Now let's move on. And the government has allocated 13 billion shillings for the construction of irrigation schemes. Minister for Water and Environment, Sam Cheptoris, says every district will have one irrigation scheme constructed to help farmers produce food during the dry seasons.
Irrigation schemes are key in developing the agriculture sector in the face of the current climate change. Minister for Water and Environment, Sam Cheptoris, says long dry spells have affected the agriculture sector and could cause food insecurity. During the sensitization meeting for leaders from Sebei region on climate change, Minister for Water and Environment, Sam Cheptoris, said that government has allocated 13 billion shillings for the construction of irrigation schemes in each district.
We are learning from the drought we had recently. And we believe that the only way to combat the effects of drought and ensure that our people continue having food is to go for irrigation. And in fact, we have government even feels that it has delayed to implement these irrigation schemes because it is the only way to go, given the fact that we have now effects of climate change.
Leaders from Sebei region said dependency on firewood for cooking has fueled environmental degradation. Minister Cheptoris, however, says government is endeavoring to support and promote alternative sources of fuel like biogas.
But I think for us as a ministry, we need to come up with a scheme to somehow help our people go for biogas.
The Commissioner Climate Change Department in the Ministry of Water and Environment, Chebet Maikot, advised local government leaders to understand issues to do with climate change.
Attention has been drawn to them on their responsibilities and to ensure that they don't take things for granted. For example, when it comes to issues of tree planting, this has been one of the key emphasis to protect our soils and to protect the water towers, because most of the rivers are coming from Mount Elgon National Park. So that has been one of the key areas of attention, the importance of conserving our natural resources. We've also emphasized on the dimension of general conservation activities, especially in agriculture.
It is also important that local governments are financed to handle environment issues, since they are the key implementers of government projects. Adia Nakuti and Patrick Mugera, UBC.
Adia and Mugera, thank you for that report there. Now let's have a look at the health sector, where health service delivery has stagnated for over 7 years, of course characterized by lack of essential medicine supply and tools in health facilities. Now, Munduru Christine, who is a public health consultant, says this has led to increase of health workers' migration, expressing the need to regulation, as we hear in this report.
Uganda loses 26 billion shillings due to absenteeism and $1 billion on ghost health workers. Center for Health, Human Rights and Development report attributes this to poor working conditions by health workers, coupled with lack of essential medicines and tools. Experts say such has contributed to the migration of health workers, which affects service delivery. A public health specialist, Munduru Christine, says migration of health workers deprives citizens of their right to quality health services.
They have the right to go, but as a country, we also have a right to receive services from them. So that needs to be balanced. The international documents require us to develop policies and guidelines to regulate the migration of health workers so that we mitigate negative effects of their migration. Uganda is not to be one of those countries with the critical shortage of human resources for health, but we are exporting.
The inefficiencies in health service delivery and strikes from medical professionals have been attributed to inadequate resource allocation from the national budget.
Is to try to advocate for more resources. Uganda committed and notified an declaration where we're supposed to have 15% of the health budget in our country, but it has never been even at 10%. So we are calling upon these key stakeholders to try to advocate for more resources for the health sector budget, at least above 20%, so that we have quite good remuneration of health workers.
A report on family planning 2020 commitments indicates that the unmet need is still huge because health workers are constrained with work.
Someone says we are not allowed to say some things, and yet we've been told that we have to follow up. But I don't think he understands. I was at
treatments to remove IUDs and implant removal. Of course, we are carrying out training both on insertion and removal so that the people don't insert them too deep, which become difficult for removal.
The reports also exposed national medical stores for delivering supplies not requested for and sometimes out of stock. Amnamka Farida and Gloria Gwetabenji in Kampala.
The Ministry for Gender, Labour and Social Development will start collaborating both international police to stop gender violence and female genital mutilation. State Minister for Gender, Peace Mutuzo, says FGM crosses borders and it goes into Kenya. She was addressing the National Symposium on Elimination of Female Genital Mutilation here in Kampala. The meeting was disseminating findings of the survey on FGM in districts of Karamoja and Sebei region, where the practice is on the increase.
With the general support from UNFPA.
It is not yet eradicated. So I was calling upon all of them to still team up and stay with us up to when we see the conclusion of FGM. Because while we have removed or stopped the obvious ways, some people are coming up with new methods of hiding through religion. These days, they go and sing the Christian songs and hymns so that they camouflage the practice. And yet they are busy encouraging and they are preparing the girls for cutting, where no one can suspect them, where no law enforcement officers can suspect them. That is where it is being done. So I want to encourage them that we also continue pursuing these events. We pursue them even when we go cross-border, the nearby countries, the neighboring countries, either in Sudan or in Kenya, that we make a multi-sectoral program with Interpol, police, with the legal institutions to ensure that FGM is completely eradicated out of our systems. But we also sensitize and encourage people to learn more about it, even to those communities which did not know or where they seemingly are not concerned, where FGM is not practiced. It is important that our children get to know, because as they grow older, we shall continue interacting. So how about if your children here in the central want to marry elsewhere in the east? Your children may fall prey.
Is that even the candidates, the girls,
State Minister for Gender there, Peace Mutuzo, of course, highlighting the dangers that are being posed by female genital mutilation. And of course, some people in Karamoja and Sebei sub-region are still practicing it, and they even go across into Kenya. Let's shift attention now and we return to issues pertaining to land matters in the country, where a renowned trader operating within Nakasero market in Kampala has been detained by the Commission of Inquiry into Lands over encroachment on Mbale Central Forest Reserve in Namatale. Hamis Masa allegedly owns 4 acres of Mbale Central Forest Reserve from a 22-hectare forest. We have the details in this report.
A Kampala-based trader, Hamis Masa, is detained by the Commission of Inquiry into Land Matters over fraudulent acquisition of 4 acres, part of 22 hectares of Mbale Central Forest Reserve in Namatale.
Since I don't know how to get you, I will ask my investigators, my court orderlies, to go with you, to keep you. You come back here tomorrow when they'll keep you. We are keeping you safe.
It is alleged that Massa worked hand with government officials to acquire 4 acres of public land.
That is forest land. That land is the reason you have good weather in Bali. Forests. Trees. How can you get into a forest and start cutting the trees? Were you thinking?
The chairperson of the Commission of Inquiry into Land Matters, Catherine Bamugemerere, warns public officials against conniving with the public to grab land.
In that matter, we do not want anybody who is not supposed to be in the forest reserve in the forest reserve. We are not going to play games the way we've been playing them here.
Another witness before the commission, Oscar Twanga, shed tears when testifying against a businesswoman, Rose Wenkomba, who connived with Peter Ogwang, the Usuku County Member of Parliament, and evicted thousands from Bunambutie land.
She gave me 1 billion shillings to go up. Abe milioni ndwena nzengo. Josik.
Are you still alive?
Ukiri omulamu?
I said yes.
Ameti ndi omulamu.
Where are you right now? I said I'm in the bus park.
Ameti ndi mu bus park.
How are you going to get back home?
According to Oscar Twanga, the Bunambutie land that was grabbed was sold to the Office of the Prime Minister to relocate the affected victims of the landslides in Nametsi, Bududa. Twanga asserts Rose Wenkomba, together with police operatives, forced him to assent on documents that gave away clan land.
And in the memorandum, they had written that we, Babuya clan members, were the people who surveyed plot 150 inadvertently, and that we are now signing for the transfer of our title into Rose's names.
However, the Prime Minister Inzuya Masaba, Francis Mashate, expressed his dissatisfaction over the increasing grabbing of the cultural institution's land.
The creation of new districts out of Bugisu, this land was erroneously handed over to Mbale District Local Government, which collects rent at the expense of all the other Bugisu districts. He requests that this land should be given to the cultural institution as its original place for setting up the cultural, the palace, and where the army is still having a bit of interest, they should not continue paying Mbale District, but rather pay to the cultural institution.
Meanwhile, Mbale District Staff Surveyor Edison Namara told the commission that he is always forced to give away public land. Namara alleges that even one time officials from the Uganda Land Commission threatened to retire him at 36 years in case he does not get out of their way.
Subdivision of former Kao's office, one of the properties the kingdom officials were talking about, it's around the regional block. But we moved in very fast and their titles were cancelled. There were 2 titles and these guys had illegally caused the subdivision on a district property.
Daniel Mugoya and Idris Lukwago reporting in Mbale District.
Land grabbers, of course, feeling the heat there as the Land Commission continues with its work. News Tonight will take yet another short break. We return with business. Stay with us. This is News Tonight on UBC TV. Let's talk business now. Farmers in Uganda have been encouraged to adopt digital technology while doing business. Now, the call was made during an engagement between Uganda Nations Capital Fund, stakeholders and the farmers to evaluate the performance of digital technology among dairy cooperatives in Western Uganda.
Nearly 80% of Ugandans live in rural areas where banks are rare and more than 70% practice agriculture. The agricultural sector is organized through farmer organizations such as cooperatives, with savings and credit cooperative organizations providing financial services to members. In an engagement with farmers, stakeholders have needed to adopt digital technology to adopt transactions and create a track record of their transactions. Bramvaden Boch, one of the initiators of the idea, called upon farmers to form cooperatives to increase bargaining power on local and international markets.
Because it are the cooperatives who will make sure the farmers will improve their practices. It are the cooperatives who make sure that the milk is of the right quality. And are the cooperatives who make sure there's a certain efficiency in the industry that will make sure that milk prices will remain acceptable for the end consumer.
Among the alternatives provided is mobile money to manage funds and transactions and different technologies to keep records.
Two things. One, looking into the solution looking at the devices that the farmers have, the basic phones, so you're not building applications that run on a smartphone, but a USSD-based sort of solution. Number two, building out of customer education. And the example I've given you of Mkwano and how we are leveraging human-centered design approaches to develop a messaging solution that is aimed at creating awareness to farmers on how to accept and use mobile money.
Farmers have a different perception on the development.
We also need to think about how are these people, the users we are targeting, how are they going to afford it, and what is the financial cost.
Cooperatives and SACCOs in Uganda have limited access to finance, defaulting of loans, and safety concerns around large quantities of cash. Abdul Nasir Obama and David Matovu reporting.
Now, Uganda Coffee Development Authority and Uganda Tourism Board has launched a tourism week. Uganda Tourism Board Executive Director Stephen Asimwe says this is aimed at increasing Uganda's visibility as a coffee tourism destination. He added that plans are in advanced stages of developing the birthplace of Robusta coffee in Chibale district. Now, during this week, there will be coffee business trips and tourist excursions across the country.
Culture with heritage, and that's why we want to get in touch with the World Heritage Council. Fortunately, Uganda has been appointed on the World Heritage Council at UNESCO in Paris. This was announced about a month ago. Now that gives us a strategic place to be able to apply for World Heritage status, especially for the epicenter of the coffee in Chibale. Now, Chibale is home to the largest concentration per square inch of chimpanzees. Chibale National Park is a fantastic national park. It has elephants, it has wildlife. It is next to Queen Elizabeth National Park. It is next to Semliki National Park. It is next to Africa's largest mountain range, the Rwenzori. And so that level of publicity, the level of experience, and also to make Ugandans feel and know where coffee is grown, drink it, feel it, enjoy it, is what we want to promote. And therefore, I think that this conference is supposed to draw attention, visibility, and publicity around this fantastic crop that, by the way, has educated many Ugandans. Is responsible for these roads, is responsible for our health facilities, is responsible for our education facilities. Coffee as an economic sector is very, very important. But we want to add coffee beyond the economics to enter the experience, the social nature. I talked about earlier the element of having umukago, the fact that you get a brotherhood bond by splitting a coffee bean and cutting a piece of yourself. We want to retrace those stories. Many of our young people don't know that. And so we want, this coffee week is very important for us. Now, ultimately, we want Uganda to be a coffee heritage and tourism center, so that people, when they drink a cup of coffee in New York, in Amsterdam, in Sydney, in Singapore, to be able to trace where that coffee is grown and be a part of that experience.
Let's cross borders now, and we go straight to the Middle East, where 16 Palestinians have been wounded in clashes in the occupied West Bank during protests against US President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Now, reports suggest the injuries are mostly from tear gas and rubber bullets, but at least one was hurt by live fire. Israel has deployed hundreds of extra troops in the West Bank. Trump's announcement met with worldwide dismay, reversed decades of US policy on the sensitive issue. Now, Palestinians in both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip have gone on strike and taken to the streets in protest. Many of Washington's closest allies have said they disagree with the move, and both the UN Security Council and the Arab League will meet in the coming days to decide their response. The Palestinian Islamist group Hamas has already called for a new intifada or uprising.
Brought to you by
Sports news now, and the National Council of Sports has today been so busy with a number of activities on board, with the latest being a development plan for the sports centre. Now, after ushering new members on the Netball Executive Committee, the Federation has straight away started work for unveiling plans for the league and also the She Cranes activity calendar for next year. Our reporter, Barbara Helen Jizamba, gives us more.
Overcome land wrangles of ownership with Asians, government has secured a land title for the Algogo Indoor Stadium. National Council of Sports is to construct a state-of-the-art cricket over and hockey stadium to meet world demand.
For the federations, associations, and the sports personalities in this nation. Because one, we are going to have, in our plans, we are intending to have the state-of-art gyms, 3 of them, 3 indoor stadiums, a cricket oval, and other sporting activities that will be here. Even for the business community, there will be opportunities of having cafeterias and some other facilities. But basically facilities that are attached to sports.
Elsewhere, Sports Journalist Choice Awards have been launched to recognize excellence in sports journalism. The head of the organizing committee, Leon Senyange, explains that the awards recognize sports journalists with a profile beyond the byline or just a sign out.
It's not just an initiative to give somebody a plaque and they walk away. No, it is an initiative that demands that the following year you actually have to do much better, because somebody else may do better than what you did the year before. So it's a process of growth, but with every year that passes is another block being added to it. And I believe that we can have more partners coming on board to support us in this particular area. Sports is a very big thing in this country. If the national team can succeed, if the netball team can be champions, if the rugby team can be champions, why can't we be recognized in our own sector of sports journalism? So,
while National Netball Federation has summoned 30 ladies for the upcoming engagements like the Commonwealth Games in Australia, World Cup qualifiers slated for August in Zambia. On the other hand, after a successful campaign in the Dubai HSBC World Rugby 7 Series, the Rugby Cranes are now in Cape Town, South Africa in preparation for another HSBC World competition. Uganda is in the same pool with giants England, Scotland and Argentina in a tournament due 9th to 10th December. Currently, Uganda is Africa Sevens champions, and the competitions are build-up matches for the World Cup in Hong Kong and Commonwealth Games in Australia next year. For UBC, Helen Barbara, Jizamba.
Sean McMahon, the Melbourne Rebels flanker, able to stride away with it.
Tom Cusack with a huge tackle which put pressure on this Ugandan defence.
Foley, little offload.
Pool now, and Skate Samona Pool Club has opened wide the race to this year's National Senior Pool League with an 11-9 defeat of Hout Pool Club. Now, coming into this game, Hout Pool Club was atop the standings, level on 56 with Ronnie's, but separated on goal differences. They indeed still are top, but have played one game more than Ronnies with just 4 fixtures to play this season. In a victory, catapults Skin Samona into 3rd place on 54 points, meaning that all top 4 teams, including CKI Pharmaceuticals, still have a big chance to win the league. Pool Association of Uganda publicist Dennis Ngobi takes us through the intricacies involved.
These 4 teams continue winning the way they've been doing it. You'll find that the title decider will be between Ronnie's Pool Club and the Hot Pool Pool Club. That will be on the 16th of December, when Ronnie's, who are just promoted to Senior League this year, will be hosting Hot Pool Pool Club, and the winner might be the challenger to the league. That apart, when you look at the relegation zone, it's also so stiff. Over 70 teams are competing to survive relegation. Talk about Icon Pool Club, Maga Pool Club, Oceans Pool Club, Sinkers, all these anchors, all these are competing, and it becomes hard to tell who will survive relegation. We got a shocker whereby Oceans Pool Club last weekend came from nowhere to dethrone CKI Pool Club, who are the table leaders. As I speak, they are at somewhere in the top 4, but no longer the table leaders. So we expect that it's really tight. Even us as PAU, we can't tell right now, but as we get close into this weekend's fixtures, the results will somehow show where the trophy is heading to.
National Pool publicist there having his say in as far as the game of pool is concerned. In volleyball now, and John Barnes Centam reports that curtains have actually fallen on the 2017 Aziz Damani National Volleyball League, whose finale at the MTN Arena was thrilling, to say the least.
Nkumba University has cemented its place amongst volleyball folklore with a 2-1 games victory over Vision Volleyball Camp, sealing a 5th National Volleyball League title. Players like Flavia Nandaula, Habiba Namara and Dorina Kitengo were inspirational for coach Tony Laconi's team that won the decider game by 3-1.
Hard work, dedicated work, and a lot of calmness, a lot of enthusiasm from the players, and very fantastic final game.
In the men's final, it was joy unconfined for Nemo Stars that edged Sportest by 2-1 on a night of intriguing volleyball skills. The evergreen Smith Okumu, Georgia Puru and Louis Mubangizi were influential in the victory.
What drives Nemo forward? No, the possibility of going to represent the country, Uganda. Whenever you win the league, you get a ticket to represent the country. That always pushes us, and one is never enough. You just get more hungry whenever you win more. So I'm happy we won.
Nemo Stars has now won the league 4 years running and will, like Nkumba University, represent at next year's Africa Club Championships.
And finally, Uganda Institute of Allied Health Sciences and Management Principal Alfredo Tim has urged students to be exemplary during the upcoming National Nurses Institutions Games due in Gulu next week. Otim tasks his team to improve on last year's second-place finish at the Games, where the Institute has sent 140 athletes to contest in football, netball, volleyball, track and field, woodball, handball and mind games.
The students are going to participate in the national games and sports of health training institutions for this country. This year is at Gulu School of Clinical Officers. And my message for the students is that they are going as the eye of the institution to represent this great institution. It's a giant institution full of discipline, respect for each other, and determination to succeed for healthcare. As our motto is, we strive to promote health. They are going there knowing that they have to do their best They have all the support and all the facilitation have been given to them. And they should remain role models for this great institution as they go to Gulu. And I wish them well, and God bless them.
And we finally come to the end of News Tonight. Thank you so much for having watched. John Opori has been on sign language, and I am Edward Rukidi Kijanangoma, wishing you a good night.